Israel has launched a new phase of ground operations in Gaza, with a particular focus on central areas such as Deir al-Balah. The military has cited several reasons, both official and implied, for this renewed offensive. One of the main goals is to dismantle what remains of Hamas's military infrastructure. According to Israeli military officials, the operation targets areas where the Israeli Defense Forces have not yet conducted ground invasions, in an effort to eliminate the group's remaining capabilities. Another key objective is to expand the territory under Israeli control. Deir al-Balah, until now largely untouched by ground forces, is being targeted as the IDF looks to establish a broader presence in central Gaza. The area had previously been avoided due to concerns that hostages were being held there. The hostage situation has played a significant role in shaping Israel's strategy. Earlier reluctance to enter certain regions stemmed from intelligence suggesting that Hamas was keeping hostages in those areas. But with ceasefire negotiations and hostage talks currently at a standstill, Israel has shifted tactics, ramping up its military pressure in hopes of breaking the deadlock. Israeli officials also argue that these actions are necessary to prevent a resurgence of Hamas. They believe that if fighters and infrastructure are allowed to remain intact, the group could regroup and continue to pose serious threats to Israeli civilians. As of July 2025, reports estimate that at least 58,895 Palestinians lost their lives, with some sources suggesting over 62,000 deaths from direct and indirect causes. In Israel, about 1,139 people, mostly civilians including women and children, lost their lives during and shortly after the October 7 attacks. Initial estimates were higher but were revised following identification efforts. But why Israel is launching a second ground invasion after bombarding Gaza for several months after the October 7 attack? The goal was clear: revenge and the dismantling of the militant group. But despite their relentless bombardment, Hamas is still fighting. Here's how their strategy has shifted. The militant group has moved away from traditional battlefield tactics and embraced a decentralized insurgent style of warfare. With many of its top commanders killed and its command centers destroyed, the group now relies on small, autonomous units operating independently. These compartmentalized cells are much harder for Israeli forces to detect and eliminate, allowing for a more agile and unpredictable approach. Guerrilla tactics have become the new standard. Ambushes, sniper fire IED attacks, and hit-and-run raids are now their primary methods of engagement. Rather than engaging in direct confrontations, these units use Gaza's dense urban landscape to strike Israeli forces and quickly disappear before a counterattack can be launched. This decentralized structure not only keeps operations going but also ensures that even if senior leaders are lost, the group can continue to wage its fight on multiple fronts. Despite the devastation of much of its weapons manufacturing infrastructure, Hamas has managed to salvage and repurpose equipment. Tools and components recovered from damaged tunnels and factories have allowed limited production to resume. They are once again building rockets, anti-tank missiles like the Kornet and Qassam rockets, and improvised explosive devices IED, which we will discuss further in the video on how they are made. These unexploded Israeli munitions are often converted into makeshift explosives for IED weapons. To create a psychological warfare, even under Israeli military oversight, short-range rockets are still being fired from within Gaza to create chaos. They managed to fight on because of the group's tunnel network remains a cornerstone of its strategy. Although Israeli forces have destroyed up to 85% of the tunnels in critical areas like Rafah and Khan Yunis, Hamas still retains hundreds of miles of underground passages. These tunnels serve multiple purposes. They're used to move personnel, store weapons, and launch ambushes. They enable hit-and-run attacks, sniper fire, and the deployment of anti-tank missiles, all with relative impunity. Guerrilla tactics now define the battlefield. Hamas avoids direct confrontations with Israel's superior military forces, instead relying on ambushes, improvised explosive devices IED, and targeted strikes on military vehicles to inflict damage while limiting its own exposure. In this video, we will talk about two military strategies: Israel's asymmetrical battlefield tactics and Hamas's guerrilla warfare strategy. Like, how will the IDF react to an ambush? The soldiers will disembark from the Namr fighting vehicle, laying down suppressive firepower and smoke screens to conceal their movements. Gunners and soldiers outside the danger zone will identify enemy positions, provide precise suppressive fire, and aid soldiers in their assault on the objective. While Hamas will employ guerrilla warfare tactics, utilizing tunnels to target the weaker rear armor of the Merkava, specifically focusing on the doors used by infantry soldiers to enter. This rear section is notably less fortified compared to the front and sides. So stay tuned and don't miss a beat. Let's examine the distinct stages of military strategies adopted by each group. In Stage 1, Israel is faced with navigating an asymmetrical battlefield environment. Initially, the IDF will deploy several drones to survey the battlefield environment for nearly a week. These drones will identify potential targets for airstrikes, which will be executed from an F-16 fighter jet using JDAM's bombs or Joint Direct Attack munition, typically laser-guided to incapacitate or destroy suspected infrastructure. In the following Stage 2, the IDF initiates the deployment of specialized forces into Gaza. Special forces act as forward observers, communicating with the fire and command center. These highly trained soldiers are tasked with establishing longitude codes crucial for guiding the self-propelled guns or directing artillery fire. This includes the deployment of the Iron Sting shell and missiles mounted on tracked vehicles. Just like this short animation shown here, the soldier inputs precise longitude codes and loads the Iron Sting round into the launcher tube, triggering detonators upon impact with the firing pin, activating the propellant charge. More charges mean greater travel distance as the propellant launches the Iron Sting, guided by fins and sections, effectively targeting stationary structures like small bunkers. The front fuse activates the warhead, penetrating concrete layers before detonating inside reinforced bunkers in delayed mode. This is Stage 3, the most dangerous part of the battlefield, requiring regular infantry soldiers to be deployed. In Namur Infantry Fighting Vehicle (IFV) can carry around 8 fully armed soldiers. This Israeli vehicle was initially based on the Merkava Mark I chassis and incorporated concepts from the Merkava Mark IV. In this animation, the Merkava tank acts as a lead vehicle while the Namur carries infantry soldiers. For now, let's take a look at how soldiers are trained and react to an ambush. As the squad conducts operations, it may encounter a near ambush while mounted. The actions taken by the squad are determined by its distance from the enemy at the time of the ambush. Step 1. Gunners in the kill zone immediately return fire and deploy vehicle smoke while moving out of danger. Step 2. Soldiers and disabled vehicles in the kill zone immediately obscure themselves from the enemy with smoke, dismount if possible, seek cover positions, and return fire. Step 3. Soldiers in the kill zone assault from the ambush and destroy the enemy firing from the buildings. Gunners and soldiers outside of the kill zone identify enemy positions, place well-aimed suppressive fire, and support soldiers assaulting the objective. Step 4. The unit leader calls for and adjusts indirect fire and requests close air support in accordance with established tactical procedures. The unit leader reports the contact to higher headquarters, conducts consolidation and reorganization, and continues the mission. This is how the Palestinians got external support for their military strategy. With traditional smuggling routes through Egypt heavily disrupted, the group has become increasingly reliant on Iranian technical assistance and weapon designs to sustain local production of drones and rockets. Even mid-war, Hamas maintains a degree of governance by controlling the distribution of humanitarian aid. By diverting some food resources to its own ranks, the group secures loyalty and presents itself as a stabilizing force. Strategically, the militant group has entered a survival phase. With most of its long-range rocket arsenal depleted, the focus has shifted to short-range attacks and psychological tactics, like intermittent rocket fire near border areas. Still, the group faces serious obstacles. The near exhaustion of advanced weapon stockpiles has forced the militant from Gaza to rely on cruder arms. Discontent is also rising among the civilian population. Let's take a look at how they achieve this very simple weapon. First of all, they use some common household ingredients such as sugar and potassium nitrate, which can be easily obtained as a fertilizer. Then they start by melting the sugar, mixing in the fertilizer, and pouring the resulting mixture into a mold to form a properly sized propellant slug. This propellant is subsequently placed into a round tube, which serves as the rocket's body, typically made from locally available water pipes. You might wonder why sugar is included in the mix. Sugar contains a substantial amount of energy, but it releases this energy slowly when it burns. The fertilizer serves as an oxidizing agent supplying oxygen. This allows for a much quicker release of energy. When the right proportions are used, it burns fast enough to propel a rocket, yet not so quickly as to cause an explosion. Rockets are launched from a simple steel frame for quick deployment and easy removal. And a wire connected to a battery ignites the rocket's solid fuel propellant, which burns for a short time, propelling the rocket upwards. After the burn, the rocket follows a predictable parabolic trajectory. The fuse sets off the warhead, a mixture of potassium nitrate and sugar, creating an explosion and dispersing shrapnel. Let's take a look at this militant guerrilla warfare strategy under its belt. First of all, it has hundreds of miles of tunnels, with many levels one above the other. This creates a quick hit-and-run tactic, so let's take a look at how this strategy works. Let's assume that this is the Merkava target for the militant groups. Remember the tunnels we talked about in our recent video? The guerrillas would come out of the tunnels with these anti-tank RPGs. The Merkava has a trophy system, which works when the radar detects and classifies incoming targets. If the threat poses a danger, the countermeasure engages to neutralize it, keeping it away from the protected zone. This system is primarily designed to protect against anti-tank missiles, but it does have its weaknesses. It was reported that they would fire the Al-Yasin RPG at very close range to limit the trophy system radar to achieve its full potential. They would also target the rear armor, that is, these doors for infantry soldiers to enter, which is substantially weaker than the front and sides. The second option of what Hamas would do is hitting the tanks with RPG just below the turret to damage the tank or render it stationary. The network comprises an estimated 1,300 tunnels, spanning a total length of around 500 kilometers, which translates to 310 miles. Some of these tunnels delve as deep as 70 meters, which is around 230 feet underground. Reports indicate that the majority of the tunnels are merely 2 meters high and 2 meters wide. They use multiple layers to create something called a metro. The tunnels are usually hidden within city buildings. At level 1, you will find the entrance as well as a launch pad for the Kasan rockets. Level 2 features a reinforced tunnel, which uses concrete blocks with an arc to support the structure. On level 3, the deep tunnels require oxygen for the different levels. This is one of the reasons an oxygen generator or air ventilator is needed, to transfer fresh air from the surface and distribute it to the different levels. Moving further ahead is level 4, which serves as a meeting room and sleeping quarters where they can rest or sleep. Level 5, interestingly, is another reinforced tunnel designed to support another base both below and on the sides of the underground metro. As you can see, there are lights and ventilating pipes running throughout the base of the tunnels. Level 6 is strategically placed as a weapon storage facility to prevent a cook-off in the event of an explosion. On level 7, you will find another storage area where explosive materials like fuel, petrol, or diesel are stored. This was strategically placed in case of an accidental explosion, and the doors are always closed or sealed. It is deep down where there is almost no oxygen, which is perfect in case of an explosion, as we all know fire needs oxygen. At level 8, you will find the most important room. This is where the control and command center is located. They use landline phones to connect all layers in the tunnel. Just a reminder, they don't use the internet, so all communication is done through these offline phones to prevent being hacked. Do check out our original animated video on anti-aircraft gun like the M2 Browning, how to fire at an enemy aircraft, and the Zu-23 and how to operate them. So stay subscribed to not miss a beat.